Hey, what's happening? Jason Woodland here with Always the Journey TV. We are continuing on our streak with doing some amazing interviews with some really great people. I'm really excited to have so many wonderful people on the show. Today is number 13. And the thing that's funny is that no, today isn't Friday the 13th, but it is Friday and it is number 13. And my name is Jason, so it's a perfect match. Plus, the number 13 is actually one of my favorite numbers, and same here with my wife, Kate. We were actually married on the 13th in October in 2013, and we would have probably chosen a 13th month if there was one. But anyway, hey, I wanted to give a special shout out also to a friend, Michelle, over at Valkyrie Manufacturing. She actually manufactured, let's see here, did this engraving for my business. So that was really cool. And then, of course, drinking my rooibos tea out of my mug over here that Michelle also made for me. So very cool stuff. So today I've got a really good friend on. I'm really excited to have him on because he's a really accomplished coach. He's my friend, Ryan Houmand. He is a coach more by nature than by career, he says. But he's turned it into a career. He's also the author of a book called A Passion for Monday. And that might sound sort of crazy to some people, but I'm a huge Monday fan myself. And he believes everyone should love Monday just like Friday, but for a different reason. I've actually got a copy of his book in my other office. I meant to have it here so I could show it to you. But he realized early on that he has the ability to help people find their way out of a pickle by drawing upon their unique strengths. He started coaching formally as a manager, coaching members of his teams, coaching customers at the Home Depot, coaching never-evers, and beginning snowboarders at Park City, and now coaching and training managers and individuals all over the world. He's worked with large and small alike, all over the place. It's really cool. His passion is coaching people individually and organizations to love Monday just like Friday. His kids are all grown and making their own way in the world and making their dad proud. He dabbles in mountain biking and likes living in downtown Salt Lake City, where he can walk a lot. And if you follow him on social media, you'll be able to see all kinds of really cool pictures that he takes. But ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce my good friend, Ryan Houmand. What's happening?
Hey, it's good to be with you, Jason. We don't get to talk enough, so it's really fun to be able to spend some time. It's been fun for me, too, because I've been watching your episodes and seeing everybody else. There's some fascinating people that you know and that you're interviewing. So I hope I can even come close to living up to that great core of people.
Without a doubt, I know you will, man. We've known each other for, time flies, but what would you say, 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah, I would say, I think probably 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so we met each other in a cool business mastermind group that you had. And we've just stayed in contact ever since.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had some good conversations during that time. Kind of went away for different reasons, but it was a really good time. I enjoyed those Wednesday afternoons we spent, I think.
Yes, yeah, meeting down there at the Larry H. Miller campus, and yep, good stuff. Hey, so you've got some really cool background. I mean, you're virtually a classically trained coach. You've got a lot of experience working with people both locally here in Utah, nationally and internationally as well. And you've also been on some pretty major sort of news channels and so forth regarding this work you've done. Is that correct?
That's true. I have done some of that stuff. When I wrote my book, I actually got a coach myself to help me sort of promote that book, and he was somebody who was really expert at helping people promote themselves in mass media like television. And so I got to go around the country in a lot of different towns and cities to have some interviews on TV and talking about the 3 mistakes that make people hate Monday was the segment that I used while I was.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah. It was kind of fun. Had a lot of cool people and had did something I never thought I would do, was to go, sort of book myself on TV and spread the word about Mondays.
Nice. So Ryan, tell me, I'm really interested to know what inspired you to get into this sort of coaching realm all to begin with.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's, I feel I'm a coach. I was born a coach. I won't say I came out of the womb coaching. That's a little creepy. Sorry to load anybody up with that image. But I recognized it pretty early. And I didn't recognize it as being a coach, but I just, looking back on my life, I could see how, even with my friends as a kid, I had this ability to sort of motivate and help people kind of see a vision of what we could do, as when we had some little project we want to do, or building jumps out in the field for our bikes or whatever, I sort of be the inspiration behind a lot of that stuff. And there's a funny story actually that I've laughed about since I was in high school. But there was this test that they gave us when I was in the 10th grade, called the ASVAB, which I think is the can't remember. It's a Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That's what it stands for. And it was developed by the Defense Department. And they give it to people in the military, but they also give it to kids in high school. So I went to high school in Texas, and it's one of the things they put us through. And it helps you understand what you might be good at for a career. And so we got the results back, and I saw the results. We were going over, I think it was in my English class, we were going over this, and the two top things on the results were, and I was thinking, I'm not sharing these in this class. People are going to laugh me out of here. So the first one was head coach, which that sounds cool, but I wasn't in any sports or anything in high school. Oh. And so I'm like, I'm not sharing that. These guys are going to laugh at me. And the other one was a choreographer. And I'm thinking, if anybody's ever seen me try to dance, there's no way I could be a choreographer. But so I've always laughed at that and thought, those guys, that test is bogus. They don't know what they're talking about. But in even the last few weeks, this came up to my mind again. And I thought, you know what those two occupations are? They're coaches. Yeah. And really, so the test really kind of had me figured out before I had myself figured out. So I kind of had the inspiration because it was something I was always good at. And as I got older and had jobs or had opportunities where there were just coaching opportunities, I thought, well, I think I'll go into management, because coaching wasn't a thing, but I thought that's where I get to help people and maybe help them see because I sort of have a talent for being able to see what people's talents are and kind of see a vision even quickly in the moment for what they could accomplish. And so it sounds like, I guess I always say that I'm always a coach. I coach everywhere I go. And that sounds like, that I'm somebody to be avoided because I might be obnoxious, but it's not like that. I'm not like a know-it-all. I kind of wait for people to ask me, and it also sounds like, well, that's going to take some time, for you to help me with anything, but it really doesn't. I've got an example that I'll use. So I talked about teaching snowboarding at Park City, and without going into a lot of details to how I ended up there, a few years ago, I taught one season of snowboarding to beginners at Park City. And one day I had a couple approaching me, and I knew she was going to be my private lesson for the afternoon, and he was going to make himself scarce. But as they approached me, he starts telling the story, and he says, I really want her to be able to learn. I've been trying to teach her for 3 seasons. They're from New Zealand, so they've come out of their summer into our winter just to get more snowboarding. And she pipes in then and says, yes, and I don't like it. I'm not enjoying this. I would love to be able to be good at this so we could have this thing to share that he loves to do, but I don't think I can learn this. After 3 seasons, I'm no better than a brand new beginner. And then he chimes in again and says, you're our last hope, mate. He adds mate. Yeah. And so, most people will think of that and they'll hear that and they think, wow, that's intimidating. Don't put all that weight on me. But it was so cool because I was thinking, this is great, because I could just tell from some of the things they told me that she really did want to learn, but she didn't really think she could. And for me, I know that if somebody's reasonably physically fit, I could, between the ages of 9 and 90, I can teach them to ride a snowboard. So I was like, this is great. All I needed to do was kind of see what she was doing so that I could kind of give her that help. And within a couple hours, she was making confident turns and couldn't wait to get back to her boyfriend to say, hey, I can do this, and start riding. And so it totally changed her life. And that's what I love about it. And that's what, I guess, to answer that question, what's inspired me, it's just my life experiences and doing this. So it's like, I just I've always seen myself as a coach, and a lot of people roll their eyes. It's like, well, everybody thinks they're a coach, but it's really what I do best.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I think an important component to being a coach is being a good listener, which I believe that you are. And because you have to ask questions, you have to listen, you have to have a granular understanding of what someone is trying to accomplish.
Right. Exactly. It's more about asking questions and listening because otherwise you're teaching, it's not coaching. And to be a teacher, I need to have some knowledge in the expertise. And so there are some things that I can do, I can teach. I mean, I was a manager for a couple of decades, and I'm pretty good at that stuff. So I can teach that stuff. I can also coach that stuff. But it really clicked to me that you don't have to necessarily have knowledge in a specific area to coach people. When I read a book called The Inner Game of Tennis by Tim Galloway, and this is a book that when it was first released, everybody thought it was about tennis, and it is. But so he's a tennis coach, and he wrote this book, but he's coached people in like symphony orchestras, and he doesn't play musical instruments, but it's about the approach. Yep. and seeing people as they are and as they're performing, and then asking the questions and asking, is that really what you meant to do? Or and one of the things that so fascinating about that book is he really discovered that the less he told people, the faster they progressed. And that's really a key to it. So
yeah, that is awesome. So Ryan, tell me a little bit more like specifically about your business. So I know that you've coached people from all over the world. I want to know, do you do individual coaching? Do you do group coaching? Do you do coaching for large corporations? Tell me a little bit more detail about that, please.
Yeah, that's a great question too. So I coach, I teach, I train, I do keynote speaking, I do all of those things. Really, right now, what I'm mostly involved in is manager training and some coaching in organizations. And I think and I'll talk about that individual coaching too. It's a little bit different animal. That's what I feel I'm best at, is the individual coaching. It's just that it's not as in great a demand. And I'll talk about that a little bit, but yeah, I'm coaching. I'm doing a lot of training and coaching of managers via Zoom meetings. One of the things I'm doing is I also work for a company called Instructure. They do learning management system software.
Yeah, great local company here to Utah, right?
Definitely, yeah. So and I do a lot of training for their customers, and also the managers of their customers who purchase this software. So teaching them about management principles, also how to use the software as a manager. And so I do get to teach people from all over, or train managers from all over the world. I mean, I'm training people in the UK in the early morning, and New York City in the afternoon, and late in the afternoon, I'm training people in Sydney, and so it's really all over the world, which is great because I've got to meet a lot of people, get a lot of exposure. So that's one thing I do, and I think that probably takes the majority of my time, whether it's for Instructure or my own, because I have some clients of my own, mostly local, that I do this for too. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll go in and kind of say, what's your current problem? When they approach me, what are you trying to accomplish? So and a lot of times I'll start with an instrument that I like to use to measure employee engagement called the Q12, which is a Gallup engagement survey. The Gallup organization developed this over decades of research. And what's really cool about it is it's a 13-question survey that takes employees about 5 minutes to take, but it gives me a wealth of knowledge about what's going on. So when they tell me, well, here we got a productivity problem, I can figure out from the outcome of the survey kind of why they're having that problem, and then how to fix it. So it's pretty cool. I mean, there's more probing and more digging after
Sure.
that, but I can see which managers are struggling as opposed to the ones that aren't, and then we can really dig into why those managers are struggling as opposed to the other ones who aren't, and then prescribe the right things. And it could be productivity, it could be profitability, it could be shrink in a restaurant or a retail organization, it could be absenteeism, client satisfaction. All of those things are really employee engagement. A lot of things you do with employee engagement are going to positively affect every one of those metrics that you're already facing.
Absolutely.
And so if you know how you're doing and you've got a baseline on that employee engagement, it's pretty easy to, and especially if you got a good tool for doing it, then it's pretty easy to help the organization do that as well.
Nice. So we've talked a little bit, almost quite a bit about the geographic locations that you cover. I mean, internationally, and of course with Zoom, you can work anywhere. But what would you say is the bulk of your clients? Are they in Utah, or like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so the bulk of my clients are in Utah. I've got a couple of clients that are outside of Utah, but those I'm doing kind of some different things, kind of helping them with some instructional design stuff and some engagement things as well. But yeah, most of them are in Utah, and it's just been that way because I don't have a lot of exposure out beyond that.
Yeah.
So most of my international stuff is the stuff I do with Instructure, and again, that's manager training, and using my experience as a manager to help with that stuff. But most of my clients are internal to Utah for the most part. Yeah.
All right. That's really cool. So what would you say your perfect client looks like? So someone watching this video, they're like, gosh, Ryan seems like a cool guy, which he is. Like, I would definitely recommend working with him. Who is your perfect client? So like, if someone would refer someone to you, like, what does that person or group look like?
Yeah. So when it comes to like a group or like an organization, first of all, the industry doesn't seem to matter. And when I was first embarking on this, I thought, well, I need to figure out what industry I'm best fit to work with. But then I got called by UDOT, and I got called by the Veterans Administration, and I've gone into hair salons and restaurants and retail stores and all sorts of different things. So, but from a size perspective, probably anywhere from about 50 to 500 employees. And that's when I'm going into an organization, because I'm usually working with the managers. So it's a subset of that 500, for example, because I want to get the managers to be really great coaches so that they can coach their employees. I don't want to bypass the manager. The manager needs to build that relationship, because another Gallup statistic is that as much as 70% of the variance in employee engagement is attributable to an employee's direct supervisor. And we always hear that employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. And so my focus is to help the manager be a better coach and to understand the engagement of their team better. So an organization of say 500, I might be working with 50 managers, for example. So that's something that's more manageable that way. Now, when it comes to coaching individuals, could be anyone, really anywhere. And that was one of the things I alluded to earlier that I didn't really talk about. Coaching individuals, it doesn't take as much of my time right now, just because people are either like, I really need help. I've had a bad couple of weeks. I really need help. And then I have a good day and it's like, yeah, I don't need any help anymore. I got this, So it's really hard until people really get that feel for the concept that I heard Eric Schmidt say one time. He's the former chairman of Google. And when he was asked the best advice he ever got, he said, was to get a coach. And he said, the one thing we never do well as individuals is see ourselves as other people see us. And that's really true. And so for individual coaching, it's got to be to that point where somebody's like, yeah, I want to go to the next level. I want to improve. And then even at that, I often say to people, let's talk, because I might not be your guy. I fully believe everybody needs a coach. I've got one. I always have a coach for myself. but I might not resonate. The way I do things might not resonate with you. And so
Yeah.
I'd be happy to talk to anybody. But again, once we talk, it might be, it's not really you. I believe I need a coach, but it's not really you. And then maybe I can refer you to somebody else too. But that's kind of long answer to a short question. Excuse me. Is for organizations, it's probably that 5 to 50, and for individuals, it's just anybody who really wants to make a difference in their life, to turn things around a little bit and go to the next level.
Nice. Okay. That definitely helps. And I think that was a great answer. So, is there any particular industry that you feel like you have more success in, or that you enjoy working in more, or is it just straight up, you just love working with any type of industry?
Yeah, I like any type of industry because it kind of goes back to that love Monday just like Friday, but for a different reason. About 70% of people either hate or dislike Monday. And it's in every industry. And I think I can help that because engagement principles cut across industries. Now, there might be areas where I have expertise, like, I've done a lot of work in corporate environments myself as a manager, so I know what that gig is like.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with retail. I've done management in retail, so I know what that's like as well. But then to some extent, I get a little apprehensive even in some of those areas, because it's like, if I know too much about this specific business,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I'm going to get too instructive and less coachy. You know what I mean? Mm. So that's one of those things. I mean, that's probably less of a concern, but it's one of those things that I think about. But yeah, I haven't really found an industry that doesn't work for me. Right now, I'm working with a restaurant group, a local restaurant group here, where I meet every Monday afternoon with the general managers of all the restaurants, and we talk about employee engagement and principles and how to make that work in a restaurant. Now, I've never worked in a restaurant, but it seems to be working for them. So
I love it. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
Touching back just on the, since you are the author of A Passion for Monday, the thing that's interesting about that is that you just stated a statistic stating that 70% of people dislike Monday for one reason or another. Is that correct?
Yeah. And initially, I was extrapolating that from the engagement numbers that we typically see in the U.S.
Yeah.
If you're not engaged, you typically dread Monday. But since then, I've done some surveys of my own, and I was also on a not a podcast, but a webcast like this, sort of with Gallup, where they had me on a few years ago to talk about employee engagement and how I used their tool, the Q12, with some of my clients. And one of the things that came up during that session was the host, Jim. He said, Gallup's done some surveys on this, and we found that the Tuesday is actually the most hated day of the week. And I was thinking, yeah. And I thought, well, Jim, why'd you bring that up now? You just took the wind out of my sails. But we had a good laugh about it. But he said, we both agreed that Monday is still the most dreaded day. Tuesday might be the most hated day, but their numbers were close to that. What they found was, for the most hated day, about 65% of people, 65 to 70% of people hated it. So it kind of goes along with those engagement numbers. So I think there's a strong correlation.
Yeah.
And like I say, I've done some surveys on social media to ask that question. And also a little deeper, when do you start dreading Monday? I wanted to find that out too. And I found out that about 13 to 15% of people start dreading Monday before 6 p.m. on Sunday, which is kind of sad when you think about how much their weekend's getting robbed.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And that's interesting about Tuesday, because I had also read some other statistics that stated that Tuesday was the most productive day of the week. And I feel ultra productive on Tuesdays for some reason. So it's just interesting data.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting too. And I went back and looked at that data on the days of the week. Monday was, according to their data, their worldwide data, they found that Monday was the second most kind of hated day of the week. But yeah, we agreed that you dread it, because nobody is. It's like on Sunday, nobody's thinking, oh, Tuesday's coming up in 2 days. I'm really dreading that, No, it's always Monday, So that's the thing. That's my little shtick there with the love Monday, just like Friday. But again, that kind of comes back to, I don't really care about the industry, because everybody in every industry In some organizations it might be less than that, but some organizations it might be much more than that. But on average, it's about 70%.
Wow, that's amazing. So Ryan, tell me if someone were to see this video and they're like, you know what, I want to get a hold of Ryan, I want to talk to him a little bit. I'm assuming you would do some kind of like a few minutes with them to sort of get to know each other, to see if maybe you'd have another meeting to see if you guys could then figure out if you were going to coach them or not, correct?
Yeah, that's what I do. So I have on my website, which is just ryanhoumand.com. It's really nice to have a name that nobody else in the world has, because I get my domain and all of that stuff. And my email address is just my name at Gmail. But I have multiple locations on my website where you can click on a form and that'll notify me that you want to have a talk. And again, like I say, I am not a high pressure salesman on this, because it's like, I either resonate with you or I don't. And whether you're an organization or a private individual who wants coaching, and we got to have that connection. And so I always do a free consultation, talk about, here's what I do, ask a lot of questions, just like I would as a good coach, to say, why are you coming to me, and just tell me more about your situation. And then we can kind of determine, is this something that could work for both of us? And then
nice.
Yeah.
So is your website the best way to get a hold of you then?
Yeah, I would say that's the best way.
Awesome.
Do that.
Okay, cool. And then do you have a Facebook page by chance?
I do. Again, I don't know what the URL is that specifically, but you find my name, I'm the only one. So only one in the world. So if you find that name, wherever you find it, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever, Twitter, that's me. So
okay, awesome. So Ryan, as we move to a wrap up, I'd like to know what one of your favorite quotes or songs, or both.
Okay. I always have a hard time with the favorite song. I have such a varied taste in music, and my kids make fun of me for listening to things like the Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears and Eagles and everybody else. So
I love Eagles.
I have a hard time with the song, but I do have a quote, and that's one from Richard Branson, where he says, I don't think of work as work and play as play. It's all living. And that, for me, that's just the essence of work-life balance. I've never seen work-life balance, and I don't think it's easy to balance if you're thinking, I work, and that's dreadful, and then I can shut that off, and then I go play. And that's the concept of, we love Friday. We loving Monday like just as much as Friday, but for a different reason. It's really the same reason. You have that freedom on Friday, and you go do that stuff. But that quote from Richard Branson, I don't think of work as work and play as play. It's all living. It's like, if you love what you do, then work isn't work. So it's just all living. So
exactly.
That's why I like that quote.
I love that. And Richard Branson, man, he is a character. I love that guy.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he's done so many cool and crazy things. And yeah, if you've never read any of his, I know you've read his books, but for the viewers, if you've never read any of his books, wow, they are like a wild ride. I love it.
Definitely.
So Ryan, it's been a sincere pleasure having you on the show today.
It's been good for me to be here. It's been a lot of fun to talk about this stuff. So
thank you.
Your time, and appreciate the opportunity to come on here. And I'm loving this show. I mean, I've watched several of the episodes now, and yeah, these people are fascinating. So again, I hope I can live up to that, and hope everybody, if there's anything I can help anybody with, and anybody, just reach out to me. Even if you don't want coaching, you don't need my services. I love to get to meet and know new people, so we can just talk.
Absolutely. Hit him up on social media. Ryan is, like I said, he's a stand-up guy, really fun to get to know. And Ryan, yeah, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on the show today. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put you in the green room for just a few moments while I wrap up the show, if that's cool.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, my friend. So there you have it, my friend Ryan Houmand. He is an awesome coach, local here to Salt Lake City, lives downtown, and he's a stand-up guy all around. So thank you very much for joining us on Always the Journey TV, episode number 13, that is. And don't forget to subscribe and throw us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Take care.